Hey everybody, welcome back to Kat's Kitchen. I'm so glad you guys are back here with me for another episode. Today is the continuation of the birthday dinner celebration prep for me coming up tomorrow. So our dinner party is tomorrow, and what we're going to do today to prep, and just to take you back a little bit, on Wednesday this week, we made all the cookies for the party, and we're going to be making a cookie tray. Tomorrow morning I'm going to set that up. So that'll be really nice and easy. Just pull them out of the freezer, pop them on the trays, let them come up to room temperature, and they're good to go. And so today what we're gonna do, this is the day before the party, we're gonna marinate our chicken. So the protein for the dinner is gonna be grilled chicken, and I'd like to have it 3 different ways. I'd like to do a chimichurri, a buffalo, and a barbecue, and then grill them and have the sauce and everything. It's going to be really, really tasty. And I'm thinking about cutting them all into strips, and then we're also going to have stuffed shells and sauce, and I'm also going to do some roasted vegetables as well. So that way people could just grab a little bit of each thing that they like and have it like a buffet style, and then it's good to go. Usually whenever I have company, unless someone has specific dietary needs, I do try to cater to that, at least have, certain things that different people can eat. That way that they don't feel left out. Obviously, I'm inviting them over for dinner, so I want them to be able to eat, something within that dinner, whether they don't eat, maybe they're vegetarian, maybe they're pescatarian, maybe they don't eat pork or shellfish, maybe they have an allergy. I have a gluten allergy, a slight gluten allergy. So I just take all that into consideration whenever I invite people over. That's just a little tidbit for you. So let's get right into it. First, what we're gonna do is prep our vegetables, and then we're gonna switch over to marinating our chicken, because we wanna cut our vegetables first on the board, and then we can switch over to our protein. Okay, friends, so what we have here is I have already washed my potatoes. I scrubbed them really good. And now we're going to be making the potato fries that we're going to be roasting in the oven. So I'm just slicing these in half and then long ways again, and then just kind of, making a good 3 slices long ways. And we'll just make some nice Parmesan fries with these. These are going to be really tasty in the oven. Now, if you'd like, you can actually put these potatoes in your air fryer. I didn't decide to do that this time just because I'm making so many, and I would have to do multiple batches in my air fryer. So this is just what worked for me on this day. Since I'm making these the day before, you'll see in the next clip that after we slice them down, we're going to put them in a bowl of water and make sure they're submerged and keep them like that in the refrigerator till tomorrow. Alrighty, so here you can see I filled up our bowl here full of water. And now I'm just going to put plastic wrap over it, push the plastic wrap down a little bit, and then store this in the refrigerator until tomorrow. And we're doing this so that our potatoes do not get black on us. And then tomorrow I'll just towel dry them, and then we'll season and bake them off. Okay, so right now we're starting to prep our other side veg. So I'm going to roast these carrots along with some Brussels sprouts together. And I'm going to cut these carrots long ways, kind of like fries in a way, mock fries. But yeah, this is going to be a nice little addition as well. So I'm just topping and tailing them, we're peeling them, and then we're going to season them up with our Brussels sprouts all together. So this is a nice way to kind of work through what you have in the refrigerator. If you have vegetables in there, I know a lot of times people have carrots and celery in there that they don't necessarily go through a lot. But roasting vegetables honestly brings the sweetness out of them and gives them a completely different flavor. So I would recommend doing that. You can season these up any way you want. You could do like a Parmesan carrot, or like a garlic, an avocado, or olive oil carrot. You could do like a paprika, and you could do a mixed blend on it, like a seasoned salt, whatever you like. Here's my Brussels sprouts here. I'm just washing them in the sink and then bringing them over. These are going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to cut the little root end off and then slice them in half. And I believe I have 2 bags of these Brussels sprouts to go through. Now, thankfully, with our Brussels sprouts and carrots, I was able to cut them without worrying about them turning black on us in the refrigerator. So this was something that was really easy and nice to prep the day before, because the day of, all I had to do was throw everything in the oven and grill our chicken. And I didn't grill the chicken until the guests were there anyway, so it kind of made it like a nice social event. So here are the vegetables all ready to go. Whenever I do go to roast these, I divvy them up into 2 pans so that the heat can get all the way around them and they can roast properly. But for storage, I just store them like this overnight in the fridge. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is work on our herbs for our chimichurri sauce. And I will leave you guys a link to a recipe for this down below. And this is what we're going to season half of our chicken with. The other half I'm going to do like a buffalo barbecue is what I'm calling it, kind of like a sweet heat. So here I had, you should be making this with cilantro and parsley. Unfortunately, my grocery store only had parsley at this time. And I presume it's because of the season that we're in right now, since we're in February. So I just doubled up on the parsley. I would not, I mean, it's okay, but it really needs that cilantro to make it a proper chimichurri and to make it taste amazing. So if you have access to parsley and cilantro, I would say it would definitely be needed for this recipe. So I'm just going to medium chop this up and add it to our bowl where we're going to make the chimichurri sauce. And then once we get this made, we'll be able to marinate half of our chicken in it as well. So next we're going to add in some minced garlic. And then we're going to do salt and pepper. Some red pepper flake if you have it. I did not have it, so I used some other red pepper spice I had. This is good quality olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. This is when you really want to use that good quality olive oil, because you can actually put this on the chicken after it's done cooking. If you want to marinate it in too, you can, but if you want to put this as like a sauce on top, it's really, really tasty, so you want to have that good quality olive oil. Just adding in our white distilled vinegar to this. And there goes our salt. So really, it's pretty straightforward with the seasoning. I also forgot to mention that there is Italian seasoning in this as well. Next, I'm adding in a red onion. We're going to dice this fairly small. And then we'll add it to our sauce. So right now I'm looking to see if that half a small red onion is going to be sufficient. And I don't believe I put the other half in. And I'm just giving it a little sample here to see what it needs. I do end up adjusting it a little bit, adding in a little bit more vinegar right now. And I think later on I end up adding a little bit more extra virgin olive oil to it as well. Really what this needed was the cilantro. So definitely if you can follow the recipe to a T, I know you're going to love it just like I do. But with all parsley, it was still good. It just wasn't incredible like it had been in the past with the cilantro. So that was the only downfall about this recipe that I came up with. I had to improvise. So now I have our chicken breast here. And this chicken breast I thawed out from the freezer a few days before. Just let it gently thaw out in my refrigerator. I always put all my meat in a bowl so that it doesn't run everywhere in the refrigerator, keeps it cleaner. And I'm just going to show you how we're going to cut this chicken up. It's going to be super easy. This chicken is from GFS. If you have a Gordon Food Service around you, this chicken was for 40 pounds. It was around $80 or $90. You can also buy it by the 10-pound packages. So I do believe it's pre-frozen. If that bothers you, then I understand, but it is a really good value for the quantity that you're getting. So all I'm doing here is trimming off the fat, and then I'm holding my palm and fingers upward and slicing the chicken breast right in half long ways. If you keep your hand firm, your non-cutting hand firm and your fingers pointed up, then you're less likely to cut yourself or slip, because obviously the chicken is slippery because it's wet, and you don't want to hurt yourself. So that's just a little tidbit. You'll see me do that a lot when I cut meat, when I'm, slicing anything like that. Even with the onion, you probably saw me with the palms straight up and the fingers bent back towards you. That way you are less likely to cut a finger. Now I'm just cleaning up here, washing my hands really good, and then I'm going to get another station here for the other half of our chicken that needs marinated. Because like I mentioned, we're going to be making like a buffalo barbecue for the other part of the chicken. And I just keep adjusting that chimichurri, because like I said, it wasn't the original recipe, but I'm just trying to make it as best as I can. It still tasted really good, very fragrant, very light, and that's really what it's all supposed to be. So I'm just gonna pop in half of our chicken here, and then when I go to grill it, I'm going to grill it, just like this, sliced in half, grilled on both sides, and then I'll keep basting the chicken with this marinade as it's cooking, because you don't want to waste this. I mean, this is a lot of ingredients here, and it tastes super good whenever you keep basting the chicken on the grill with this. As long as you make sure that you're not putting this marinade on at the very end after the grilling, because obviously it has the raw meat in it, and you're just letting that chicken cook fully. After you put the marinade on, you'll be just fine with that. So this second bowl is going to be for our buffalo barbecue. And for this recipe, I kind of make it up on my own. So I'm going to try to give you guys, I'm going to try to write it down here for you. But honestly, you can kind of use whatever you have on hand for this. So here I'm using the rest of my minced garlic. And this is probably about, I think I had maybe 2.5 chicken breasts here. I added some barbecue sauce. I had some buffalo sauce. As you can see, everything is a little bit, kind of, emptying these bottles from the refrigerator that have been in there for a while. That was the sauce that my friend makes. It's called Sucker Punch, and he has a Facebook if you're interested in that, but he usually only does local shows where he sells it. And then we do salt and pepper and some parsley. So this is pretty easy now. We're just going to give this a nice good mix, and then we're going to cover both of these two marinades up with plastic wrap and store them in the refrigerator until tomorrow. And then we're just going to take them out of the refrigerator at least a half hour before we want to grill them. That way our meat can come up to room temperature and it'll relax. And then we can grill it, and then we're going to have a better product, because when your meat is relaxed, you're going to have a more tender cut. Okay, friends, so today is the day of the party, and we are preparing our stuffed shells. Now, these stuffed shells are from Sam's Club in their freezer section. And as you all know, I am still working through my pantry challenge. So I figured this would be a nice option for people to have for the party. So I'm just preparing our sauce right in the pan here that we're going to bake it in. I have some minced garlic, some onions, and this is just pre-jarred sauce that I had on hand. I'm also going to use some parsley, Italian seasoning, and then salt and pepper to taste. I have a lot of sauce recipes, so if you're interested, I have a ton of different ways of making sauce from scratch, or using what you have on hand to zhuzh it up a little bit. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm also adding in garlic powder here. And then our onion powder. So instead of us obviously dirtying a whole other, pan or bowl to do this, let's just make it easy on ourselves. And that's why I'm just mixing up everything here. I'm going to be making 2 pans of these stuffed shells. Everyone said these stuffed shells were really good. Obviously, I couldn't taste them because I'm gluten-free, but if you need a stuffed shell option for a party, these were fairly affordable, and I think they came in a 3-pound package. So what I did is I just took them out of the freezer a few hours before the party, just so that I wanted them to thaw just enough so that I could break them all apart and put them in piece by piece like this. So I'm doing them all precious and cute in here right now, but actually what I end up doing is really just mixing all these together and spreading them out in between the 2 pans, because the one pan is not large enough to fit all of these shells in. And that's what I was trying to do, but there was just too many and I did not want to crowd them. But this is easy as, obviously, have your sauce. You put your stuffed shells down, mix them up so that they're getting sauce on all the sides, and then top them off with whatever cheese you want. I believe I use a mozzarella and a Parmesan cheese on the top. And these are super easy. You just bake these at 350. You could follow the rest, the directions on the back of the package, but I think this one was just baked for 350. When they're frozen, they're going to take about 45 minutes or so. If they're thawed, I think they'll take about 25 minutes. But you just want to cook them until they're nice and bubbly and warm on the inside. And here I'm just preparing my second pan here. Anytime I'm having a party on this night, I had invited, several people to the party, but In turn, it ended up that only about 5 people ended up showing, and that's okay. I would much rather have more food than not enough, because what I was able to do is send everyone home with a little bit of leftovers so that they could have lunch the next day. That's one thing I try to do, whether, it be my family or my friends. I know I always appreciate it whenever I go to a party and I get to take a little bit of leftovers home, and it just saves me from cooking lunch the next day or dinner the next day. Especially if you're going to one of these parties that are like in the afternoon and you get to take leftovers home, and it's kind of one of those odd hours where later on at night, closer to 6 o'clock, you might be hungry again. So it's nice to have a little bit of an extra leftover for later on in that day, instead of having to be out all day at a party and then having to make dinner too. So we're obviously adding the sauce on the bottom here, and what this also does, outside of us mixing up our sauce, is it's going to help these stuffed shells from sticking on the bottom. So now here's where I'm just going to add in, try to even these 2 pans out of stuffed shells. I want them to cook evenly. These were super easy to make. They came together really fast. And you can do this with really any type of pasta. Say you like rigatoni or anything. You could do this with any type of sauce. You could do pink sauce, marinara. You could do an Alfredo. I just made a pumpkin pasta the other day. It was super good, inspired by Becky over at Acre Homestead. I unfortunately did not film that one. It was one of those days where I had to hurry up and get dinner on the table. I know we all have those times, so, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. I mean, I know how it is for sure, but that pasta was super yummy, and I'm sure I'll be making it again, so I'll show you guys on another day. I do put a little bit of water in there just to get the remainder of the good bulk of the sauce out. The sauce is pretty, it's thick enough that it's not going to thin it out too much. And then for the top layer of the sauce, I just go ahead and add the remainder of our seasonings and our minced garlic and our onions. Let me know what you guys like to make for parties. Whenever you have, say, maybe 8 to 10 people or more that you're inviting, I like to know what you like to make for a crowd. Do you try to make a few different things? Do you try to make like one large main meal? How do you guys usually do it? I usually like to do something a little bit different every time, just because I like to, kind of expand my knowledge and what I'm doing. Plus, I think it's a little bit more fun too. But then again, I do cook quite a bit, so. But if you guys have any go-to recipes for when you have a crowd specifically, let me know. I'd like to, learn a little bit more about cooking for a crowd. Growing up, we always had roughly 5 to 7 people that we were cooking for in our family directly. So cooking for, 10, maybe 20 people, I'm kind of used to that. But cooking for over 20 people, I mean, I've done it before. I've catered parties with people before, but it was always, usually more people contributed after that amount, so it made it a lot easier. I've actually, technically you could say that I've been a private chef for a few people.
help them with their parties, banquets and whatnot. And that's even outside of the kitchens that I've worked in. So as long as you take a few days leading up to the party, like what we did here, it takes a lot of pressure off of the day of your party. Okay, so I got a little bit of sauce around the rim of this pan, so I'm just going to clean that off so that it doesn't get burnt when it's baking in the oven. Now you can either pop these right on your wire rack of your oven, but if they seem a little too flimsy, you can put them on a baking sheet as well. The hardest thing is getting them out of the oven when they're hot and they're flimsy. So if you need to, definitely use, put them on a baking sheet to make them more stable. Now I do have to apologize in advance. For some reason, I did not film the very end of this video. So unfortunately, you guys aren't going to see the finished and final product of all the food, but I do have to report it was super good. I mean, everything went really well, from these stuffed shells to our grilled chicken and our roasted vegetables and Parmesan fries that we made in the oven. Everything was really, really tasty. I'm just very disappointed that, honestly, people started showing up and, I forgot to film the end of it. So it was my fault, but I didn't want to just completely throw this video out because I still think that it had a lot of good pointers in it, for anyone that might be having a party or just having a Sunday dinner with family and friends. So here what I'm doing is just taking our mozzarella and I'm going to hand shred this. You can use shredded cheese if you like. I do find that shredding your own cheese actually gives you a better melting factor because all the, declumping agents in the shredded cheese aren't in there. So I'm just going to shred this is an 8-ounce block of mozzarella. And then I'll divvy this up over both pans and then top with our mozzarella and our Parmesan cheese. So here I'm just showing you our Brussels sprouts and carrots. I'm going to divvy these up into 2 different pans, better for roasting. I'm going to get them seasoned though. This is some avocado oil, since it's going to be high heat. And I have garlic powder, onion powder. We're going to do salt and pepper to taste. A little bit of parsley and some paprika. You can, definitely put cheese on this as well. I just didn't want cheese on absolutely everything. So when I'm preparing a menu, I try to balance that out a little bit so that I don't have an overabundance of cheese on everything. I know I can get a little carried away with the cheese. I do enjoy that. So I was like, well, I think with the Parmesan fries and these, as the side, I think that'll be perfect. So I just mix these up really good and then just separate half of them into my other pan so that they can roast a lot better in the oven. We roasted these at 425 for about 30 to 40 minutes. Here I am just giving you guys a little cheers. I hope you're doing well, and we're just getting this party rolling here. If you're curious, I'm drinking Pinot Grigio. I like Pinot Grigio when we have fish or chicken, and Pinot Noir when we have red meat. So in the back there, you'll see I have started setting the table and preparing the table. I have our potatoes here. They've been drained. If you want, you can take a paper towel to these and, dry them a little bit more before you season. But that's perfectly fine. That's up to you. We're going to be roasting these at 425 with the other vegetables. So we're going to hit this with some salt and pepper to taste. And I have everything pretty much ready to go at this point for the oven. I'm going to roast my vegetables off first. This is our garlic powder. So we're going to roast the vegetables off at 425 first for about 40 or so minutes, stirring in between. Let them get nice and brown, and then we're going to pop in there's the paprika there. We're going to pop in the stuffed shells because they need to bake at 350 for about, 35-40 minutes or so. And some parsley on there. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be the last clip because, like I mentioned, this is our avocado oil here for roasting. And then we just mix these fries up really good, and then we put Parmesan cheese on them as well. So this is unfortunately the last clip, like I had mentioned to you before, but all these recipes turned out really, really well. Everyone was super happy with them, and anytime that you're either using the crock pot or the oven to bake everything, it really makes preparation for a party really easy. I did opt in to obviously have these foil pans for easier cleanup, and then I utilized my dishwasher, which I'm thankful I have one, for the rest of the cleanup. And then obviously we cooked the chicken on the grill. And here I am, I'm just really excited because this is really the last preparation I had for this day outside of grilling the chicken. But I wanted to grill the chicken roughly about 30 minutes before we were actually due to eat. So if your guests are going to come over, you can always do that. If they're nibbling on appetizers, you can do that while they're eating the appetizers. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye, friends.